If you're trying to list an NFT from your application, but you don't want to only support one marketplace, and instead you want to support an array of marketplaces, or perhaps you want to allow the user to select their marketplace, then this tutorial is for you. My name is Hakeem, and I'm a Web3 developer working for eBay, and my mission is to teach you Web3 development. So let's begin. First of all, make sure you have the requirements listed on screen right now. Now, let's open up our terminal. Let's cd into documents. And then we're going to execute the command npx create next app at latest. So we're going to call this reservoir listing demo. And then just press enter on every single default option. So we will be using TypeScript for type safety, as this is the industry standard. We will be using the ReservoirSDK, which I'll dive into once the application is installed. And we'll be using the latest version of Next.js, so Next 13, which uses the app router. I will dive briefly into what this router is and how it differs from the page router. But for now, this tutorial is focused on just demonstrating how you can list tokens from your own application to your desired marketplace. So let's navigate into Reservoir listing demo and open up VS Code. So just to briefly discuss what the app folder is, you have this app folder here, and you'll have these layout files which are optional, but you'll need one at the root level, which defines the overall application. So it's in this layout at the root level where we will pass through our context values. So our context will be wrapped around here and passed down to every single child element in the application. And then the root page is the first page that your user will land on your application. And by default, everything is a server component. So this is running server side, and this is also running server side. Okay, so we'll need to install these packages here. So the first two that you'll see are the ReservoirSDK packages. Now, Reservoir is a NFT aggregating API service that allows you to fetch and also create NFT listings to your chosen marketplace. And the Ethers wallet adapter simply allows us to use an Ethers package to use the signer to make the listing. Again, I'll dive into this more when we get to the listing stage. And in order to add Web3 wallet connectivity to the application, we're going to be using Web3 onboard, but feel free to use whatever Web3 library you want, such as RainbowKit. And then VM is another package similar to Ethers. However, it's a required dependency for the ReservoirSDK. Right, so let's install. Right, now you're going to see this error possibly. It's saying it requires VM version 1.6.4 on this version of the ReservoirSDK, which is fine. I know how to fix this. Just let this finish installing. Right, so to fix this, let's head over to our package.json. We want to uninstall, so it also installed Ethers 6. So again, we don't want Ethers 6 because it's not widely supported and it won't work with the ReservoirSDK. We have to use Ethers version 5, as that is the most widely supported version. So let's uninstall both of these, Ethers and VM. And then it's npmi ethers at 5. That will install the latest version of version 5. And VM at 1.6.4. There we go. And let's just make sure our app is working. Okay, that's fine. Let's see what it looks like. Okay, so the app's working. There's no errors so far. This is the default page. So this is the JSX that you're seeing here. Right, so the first thing we want to do is add in our providers or our clients, we're going to call them. so that we can wrap around the application and actually provide Web3 functionality. So inside of our app folder, let's make a new folder. Let's call it clients. The first one I'm going to add in is the onboard.ts. And since we're going to be using React packages in here, we'll need to make this a use client. They want to import injected module from Web3 onboard, injected wallets. So the injected wallets simply means a wallet such as MetaMask. So we want to also import init from Web3 onboard React. This is the initialization function. And then in here, injected equals injected module. So we're going to instantiate this. And then below this, so in my case, I'm going to use Infura to provide the RPC URL, but feel free to use Alchemy or Pocket Network or whatever provider that you're using. Yeah, so we will be using environment variables for this because we don't want to leak our API keys. And then I'm going to paste in some code. So this is the initialization function here. So we have the wallets parameter accepts a variety of wallets. So if you want to support things like Coinbase wallet or Fortmatic or whatever wallet you want, you would pass it through to this parameter here. But for now, we will keep it simple and just support injected wallets. So basically just MetaMask. And the chain we are supporting is just Goerli, so the Ethereum testnet. RPC URL goes in here so we can speak to the blockchain. And then these settings here are just to output where you want the modal to appear, which you'll see once we show it off in the front end. And next, we're going to create another client called ReservoirClients.ts. Now, this is where we're going to instantiate the Reservoir SDK. So let's create clients from Reservoir. At 0x, there we go. Nope, not this one. This one. And then we're going to export function reservoir client. And then now we're going to use here, we're going to define 3 variables based on environment variables that we pass through to the configuration. So we want to have chain ID equals process.env.chain ID. Oh, something I just remembered. We need to pass through next public. Now, because this is a use client, so a client side component, we need to pass this next public prefix to any environment variable that would be client side. Now this can be removed if you add in the correct configuration to your next config. But for simplicity, let's not do that and just keep it as next public. I think it makes it much more clearer to distinguish between client side environment variables and server side. Right, so next public chain ID const reservoir base URL. There we go. There we go. Thank you, Copilot. Okay, and then we want to handle if there's no environment variables. There we go. So what this is saying is throw an error in the console if there's no environment variables that were set, because we need these values to instantiate the client and be able to list to our chosen marketplace. Finally, let's define the clients. Chains. So again, the ID is a number type. So we need to pass int the chain ID because all environment variables are string by default. Base API, there we go. And then active, true. And then API key is a reservoir API key. Now, you might get this error when you try to import a reservoir module. All you have to do is delete your tsconfig JSON and then rerun the app, which will generate a brand new config JSON with the correct path configuration. And there we go, the error is gone. So hit save. And now we need to pass these through to the application at the root level. We will define a context, but we'll make a context folder in here. New file, let's call it Web3 Context. And again, this will need to be client side because we are using Web3 onboard, which is using a React package. So let's have use client. And let's import the Web3 onboard provider from the React package. And import Web3 onboard from the actual file itself. So we want clients onboard. And then import the reservoir clients. Next, we're going to define a basic interface. So this is TypeScript again coming through. So we'll call it Web3 Context props. And this is basically saying what we expect the context to accept. So it will simply be, as Copilot has stated, children of type React or React node. Now this is simply almost anything in React. So it could be a string, a number, a boolean, a React element, a JSX element constructor, almost anything. So it's basically saying accept anything as children. And you'll see what I mean in just a moment. So next, let's export function, Web3 context. And then we're going to do, we will use this syntax. So this syntax here is destructuring. So we're destructuring the props that we pass through, and we are typing it as what we just defined here in this interface. So Web3 context props, and we're destructuring out the value, which is a React node. And then we want to instantiate the client and return Web3 onboard provider. Oops. And pass through children. Now we need to pass through, right, so we need to pass through Web3 onboard into this, so Web3 onboard. And this will be the actual initialization function we defined in here. So this whole file is the function, and we're passing this through to this Web3 onboard parameter. So Web3 onboard, and there we go, hit save. Now finally, to wrap this around the application, head over to layout, and then pass through the Web3 context. And let's head over to the browser, hit refresh. Oh, so we haven't, oh, it's back on 3000 now, so it's on 3000. Oops. Right, oh yeah, so we haven't passed through the actual the configuration. So again, this is why you want to handle errors when it comes to configuration, so you know for a fact that the app won't work without these configurations. So let's quickly do that now. Now, where do you find these values for the reservoir configuration? Well, head over to Reservoir Marketplace, GitHub. And then on this open source GitHub repository, scroll down, and the API key for Go Early will be right here. So let's copy this. And let's make a .env.local. Now, Next.js will automatically detect this .env.local, and you have to define it at the root level of the entire folder. So not inside of the app, but outside here with the TS configuration and the other configuration files. So .env.local. Let's define, let's just copy these, hold on. So over to here. So let's just do this. Oops, Jesus. So we have the 3 configuration variables for the reservoir SDK. And remember, we also have one for the Infura URL. So let's go get these now. So the API key for reservoir is here. The base URL, now this one's a bit tricky to find, but you have to head over to the API itself. Scroll down to one of their endpoints and you'll see these base URLs here, and it's this one right here. So api.goearly.tools. There might be a better way to find it, but let me know if you find a better way to find that, but that's how I get it. And the chain ID, because we are using Goearly, is 5. And finally, it's the next public Infura URL. So Infura is just another API provider similar to Alchemy or Pocket Network that allows you to communicate to the blockchain. And you will need this for your Web3 onboard configuration. Technically, you don't need it, but you'll get a bunch of annoying console errors if you don't have it. So I've already logged in here, and you just log in, sign up, or sign up if you don't have an account, create an app, and then once you're in the dashboard, you'll have this this dashboard here, and then you want to select Ethereum at the top and Goearly and copy and paste this URL here. So head over to here, paste it, and there we go. Hit save, and now remember, whenever you update your environment file or any environment file that you're developing on locally, you have to restart the application. But as you can see, we have some more errors here. So these ones are to do with Webpack. So whenever you see module not found, can't resolve, UTF-8, validate, so on and so forth, these are common modules that should already exist at runtime. However, it's trying to find them, it's trying to bundle them together. So we're expecting these modules to be available already at runtime, so we don't actually want them in the final build. So how you handle this is very simple. Head over to Next.config and paste in this code. This will exclude these from the bundle and you won't see this error anymore. So let's npm dev again. And there we go. So as you can see, it will say loaded env from .local. If you don't see this message in your terminal, then something's gone wrong and you probably have it in the wrong location. It has to be at the root level, not inside the app itself. So that will do with part 1. In the next part, we will actually set up the UI and start to list a token from this app. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.